Presidency reacts to Archbishop Kuka's Easter message.
Federal government pledges to complete gas liquefied natural gas.
Ogun State Governor inspects construction site for Agro-cargo airport at Aviation.
Which is going to be a conglomeration of agro-processing companies that take raw materials, process into finished goods.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss continuous voter registration.
Well, in line with its mandate, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, resumed continuous voters registration on the 28th of June 2021 after it was suspended to pave way for the 2019 general elections. Kieran?
Now, the exercise is meant to enable Nigerians who attain the voting age and others who have issues with their registration, among others, to obtain their PVC that will allow them to discharge their civic responsibilities.
And the ongoing CVR is in 4 phases, and so far, 3 phases have been completed, while the last phase is expected to end by June 30, 2022.
INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu said between June 2021 and December same year, 2.5 million new registrations were done, out of which 1.3 million were valid, while 1.1 million were declared invalid.
And the INEC complained about persistent number of invalid registration, which is a source of concern to the electoral management body and other key players in the electoral process in view of the significance of voter register to the credibility of the elections.
However, the Commission restated its commitment to continue to clean up the data to ensure that a credible voter registration is produced for the integrity of the elections.
And indeed, curious. So who are supposed to be involved in the continuous voter registration? Why do some people engage in double or multiple registrations? What sanction is available for perpetrators of this illegal act and their collaborators?
And what role should civil society organizations, political parties, and other development partners play in educating electorate on the significance of the registration? What could be responsible for this illegal act? These are some of the issues we intend to raise with our guests as we discuss continuous voter registration in Nigeria. And on today's edition of Good Morning Nigeria, my name is Kirian Umayo. Thank you indeed for finding time to join us this morning.
And then I am Yusuf Nadabu Usman, welcoming you to our flagship program on the network service of the NTA, coming to you live from our headquarters studios in the nation's capital here in Abuja. And as always, we shall serve our complimentary segments, which include newspaper review and others. In the meantime, Frama is standing by with the morning news highlights, that is. Frama, good morning.
Good morning, Nadabo and Karen. Here is the morning news. The presidency has reacted to the attack on President Muhammadu Buhari by Archbishop of Sokoto, Matthew Hassan Kuka, during his Easter message. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says, it is surprising that the clergy used the time for a lengthy homily on his usual target, President Buhari. The statement says, for a man who has been spreading hate for decades, nothing new in the homily except for the fact that while millions of Christians were remembering the Jesus Christ crucifixion on Friday, his descent on Saturday, his resurrection on Sunday, and on Monday his ascent into heaven to sit at the right hand of the Father, Bishop Matthew Kuka was playing politics. It says the clergy, instead of spreading Bible teachings on Christ's death and rebirth so that man might be saved, use the pulpit to damn the government in the most unchristian terms. It notes that Easter should be a time for renewal and for hope, and for those in authority, both temporal and spiritual, to come together in words and deeds, so those who look up to them, for example, can be inspired by their grace. The statement notes that this is not a time for religious leaders to play politics or politicians to play religion. It is a time, as in Titus 3:9, to avoid foolish controversies, genealogies, dissensions, and quarrels about the law, for they are unprofitable and worthless. Nigerians, the statement says, know too well Bishop Kukah's views of the government. He has made quite clear how much he dislikes them from the day they were elected. Whether expressing his political views is a good use or an abuse of religious office for others to decide. But the people of Nigeria have spoken twice. They support the government at the ballot box. They have not been swayed by the hateful talk from any bully pulpit. It asks Bishop Kukah to leave government to the voters and the politicians they elect, while he concentrates on his job, as it is expressed in James 1:27. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world, or else he should put away the clerical garb, join partisan politics, and see how far he can go. Jigawa State Chapter of Christian Association of Nigeria (CAN) has organized a special prayer session for the country as part of this year's Easter celebration. The special supplication seeks God's intervention in the numerous challenges facing the nation.
Resurrection, and in addition to that, we also see it as an opportunity to pray for the nation. It's also an opportunity to pray for Jigawa State, and that is the reason why we are at this Triangle Square to celebrate the resurrected Christ, and to also pray for our leaders and our nation, which is passing through many challenges.
Senate President Ahmed Lawal has commended the Chief Whip of the Senate, Orji Uzor Kalu, for embarking on massive infrastructural development in Abia North Senatorial District. He made the commendation while inaugurating some projects executed by the Chief Whip for his constituents.
For all of us,
Yes.
not only you, but for me personally, that God has willed it that I will come to this community to commission this very important role.
When you took over the National Assembly, you gave us a marching order to make sure that we go massively to develop the rural areas. I want to particularly thank you and also thank President Buhari for the unflinching friendship you people have given to us, this community, myself, and people of Abia North.
Meanwhile, the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, Smedan, wants the National Assembly to update its legislation to enhance monitoring and evaluation mechanism for impact assessment of its activities. Management of Smedan says regulation will make coordination better and improve accessibility. At a meeting with the House of Representatives Committee on Poverty Alleviation, the Director General of the agency, Duko Umara Rada, emphasized the need to amend the act establishing Smedan. The amendment, he noted, will facilitate growth and enable more citizens to leverage the economic benefit of MSMEs as additional areas to explore. And the federal government is seeking new investors to revive stalled brass liquefied natural gas (BNLNG) project. Minister of State Petroleum Resources Timi Silva has pledged government's commitment to the completion of the project abandoned over 17 years ago. A statement by Horatius Egwa, Senior Advisor Media and Communications to Minister of State Petroleum Resources, says the minister was speaking during an inspection of the site project in Tuan Brass, Bayelsa State, with management of Greenville NLNG, an interested investor in the brass liquefied natural gas. Sylvia says government is desirous of completing the project because of the manifold economic benefits it will bring to the nation. The Brass Liquefied Natural Gas, which has trains 1 to 4 concept with an annual projected capacity of 8.4 million metric tons, was initiated in 2005 with the groundbreaking ceremony performed by former President Olusegun Obasanjo on 14th May 2007. He reiterates that the direction of the government as far as gas is concerned is to use gas as transition fuel and also to diversify the nation's economy. Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun says Agro-cargo Airport will serve as a conglomerate firm in agro-processing as well as aerotropolis to provide value-added services when completed. The governor stated this during an inspection to the construction sites of the airport at Ilison Remo, Ogun State.
The agro-processing part is the most interesting part, which is what concerns Mr. Gupta. It's going to be a conglomeration of agro-processing companies that take raw materials, process into finished goods. Those will be here.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kirian and Nedebo after this break.
The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the state.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA Television College Jos invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs: Protocol Event Management and Public Relations, date 2nd May to 13th May 2022, 2 weeks. Video Camera Maintenance, date 16th May to 27th May 2022, 2 weeks. Basic Television Production Techniques, date 16th May to 10th June 2022, 4 weeks. Photojournalism and Photography, date 6th June to 1st July 2022, 4 weeks. Intermediate Online News Reporting Skills, date 4th July to 29th July 2022, 4 weeks. Sports Coverage and Reporting Skills in the Mass Media, date 4th July to 15th July 2022, 2 weeks. The course fee for 2 weeks courses is 150,000 naira per participant, while the fee for 4 weeks courses is 180,000 naira only, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA Television College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-079-5335 or 0806-980-9807. NTA Television College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be. A new edition of TV Guide is out, exclusively with Professor Umar Garba Dambata, Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC.
We have unveiled the 622 as a toll-free line through which consumers can be able to lodge their complaints. And we have introduced the 112 as a national emergency number.
This edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from technology, entertainment, economy, media, politics, family, and lots more. Pick up your copy and get abreast with issues and trending features within our space. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Buy Niger Registration and Telemarks in partnership with NTA Television Enterprises Limited. The Buy Niger project presents International Market Access Platform, BuyNiger.com, a one-stop e-commerce portal and public procurement referral for exclusively made in Nigeria products and services. The Telemarks for buying and selling on television for company and product registration, participation, sponsorship, and adverts on Telemark. Call Acho on 080-9521-2547 or Sarah on 080-331-73233. Visit www.buyniger.com or www.ntatve.com.ng. For product inspection, standards and quality assurance, Buy Niger Center, The Arena, NTA Headquarters, Abuja, FCT. Buy Niger, Market Square, Mount View Mall, Life Camp, Abuja. Buy Niger, providing market access for entrepreneurs in the 36 states and the FCT, from local to global.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Well, coming up next on the program is the newspaper review.
Well, and now it's time for us to do a review of some of today's national dailies. Reviewer by Tebi is unavoidably absent this morning, so Nadabo and I will do justice to this segment. First, Nadabo, I have Al Jazeera here.
Okay.
Al Jazeera here, and below the name flag of Al Jazeera, Alpha Babalola calls for election suspension, advocates interim government. That's on page 11. The lead story on Al Jazeera this morning is, I hope you can get that, the lead story on Al Jazeera, APC to adopt indirect primaries with the two riders, 7,800 delegates to decide presidential candidate, NEC to rectify position in Abuja tomorrow. There are other stories here. Lagos closes school over viral minor sex tape. Security is everyone's business, says Pauline Talley. That's on page 2. Access Bank to be rechristened Access Corporation. And of course, we have that story on page 11. Imo passing through trying period, according to the governor Uzodimma. The story is on page 15. And we have other stories here. 10 banks to pay 7.02 trillion naira fine over CRR violation. That's on page 26. Easter tragedy. Angry youth set cable thief ablaze in Akwa Ibom. Is also on page 15. Imbibe Lenten season lessons. Erufai urges Nigerians. That's on page 11. Well, before we continue, we'd like to introduce our reviewer, Bayo Atebi. We had earlier informed you that he's unavoidably absent, but Bayo just came into the studio now. Bayo, I know you must have been delayed by traffic or something. But
thank you, Kyria. Good morning.
We're glad to have you.
Good morning, Yusuf. Good morning.
Was there any good luck outside? What did happen?
Well, usually when you have traffic breaking down, especially at the bottleneck around the studio, a tailback will build up, and then you cannot predict how you can move around that area.
Exactly.
Well, thank God you've arrived safely anyway. You want to continue with the one you have?
All right, let me just conclude, then so you can take care of the other two papers before Bayo comes in. The Nation newspaper is next. The Nation newspaper, above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, outrage over pupils gang sex in Dubai. Police launch probe, school shot. That's on page 2. Knocks for Kuka, NEF, PDP, APC flex muscle in Bauchi over speaker. Food prices soar in March. The three stories on pages 5, 27, and on page 7. Okay, the lead story on the Nation newspaper: senators, reps to court, sustain Electoral Act 84. Lawmakers 5 grounds of appeal, ask for accelerated hearing. Why economic recovery is slow by World Bank, is on page 4, and also on page 4 is the rest of the lead story on the Nation newspaper. That's about the Electoral Act 84, which of course the House of Reps and Senators 5 grounds of appeal for. Honorable.
Okay, thank you, Kieran. Can we please have the New Telegraph to start with on this side? On the New Telegraph, we have around 6 or 7 stories on the front page. Can we still have it, please? The first story there is the story on states to federal government, that's the FJ. It says, don't tamper with $418 million Paris Club loan refund. We have details of that on page 3 of the New Telegraph. And on pages 2 and 26, we have sexual molestation. Lagos shuts Christian schools indefinitely, with the writer that Nigerians blame school bad parenting. Nigerians blame school bad parenting. Details of that on pages 2 and 26. The other story on the New Telegraph is Presidency to Kuka. It says, inflammatory comments dividing Nigerians, absolves Buhari of leadership insensitivity. Details of that on page 8. Moving on, insecurity, Buhari should seek external assistance, says Professor Shoinka. And party differences shouldn't make us stupid, says Governor Wike. And also on the New Telegraph, we have a story on page 4 that says, graft, our morale dampened by Nyame Darius pardon, EFCC officials. This coming from the EFCC officials. And finally, on the New Telegraph, we have Ukraine war, World Bank cuts global growth outlook. Details on page 25. Ukraine war, World Bank cuts global growth outlook. Now let's move on to the Punch and then see the stories we have on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. At the top of the page, can we have the Punch, please? At the top of the page, we have Paris Club States Right FG kick against deduction of $418 million. Details on page 21. And below that, we have 3 stories, one of which is on page 8. AGF's later delays Darie, Nyame, 157 others release. And on page 19, Cross River, Taraba, Zamfara, yet to pay minimum wage 4 years after. And on page 20, car dealers threaten to close stores this week over 15% levy. Moving down a little, we come down and then just beside the main plate we have Lassa fever case 138, NCDC activates emergency center, details on page 25. And on page 20 still vandalism, others push oil firms bank borrowing to 5.68 trillion naira. The main story on the Punch newspaper is about election. It says electoral violence. 1,149 Nigerians killed. INEC suffers 42 attacks. Decries rising insecurity. We have details of that on page 2, pages 2 that is, and page 25. And the writers are, Commission loses over 9,000 card readers, plans risk assessment. The second one is there will be no results for violence-marred polls. INEC rec threatens. And the last rider there is Oyetola's aid warns against violence ahead of governorship election. Now moving down to near the bottom of the page, near the foot there, we have some few stories, about 6 of them. We have on page 21, APCON to sanction Sterling Bank over provocative Easter advert. On page 11, Katsina sets up petition, appeal tribunals for local government election. And on page 8, Afe Babalola seeks poll suspension interim government after Buhari. Now at the foot of the page, there are 3 stories there. We have on page 26, troops kill 3 bandits, recover weapons in Benue. On pages 4 and 5, Cruise line shut, school parent disagree over alleged rape, police begin probe. And finally, on the Punch newspaper on page 11, remove your cassocks, join politics, presidency replies Kuka. Bayo?
Thank you, Yusuf. Let's start with the story from Lagos, where the Lagos state government has announced immediate closure of a school pending further investigation. The Commissioner for Education, Folasade Adefisayo, says that the school is closed due to alleged sexual violence involving the school. This is to ensure that the child-centered institution are compliant with the executive order of Lagos state government safeguarding all children and protecting their programs. The ministry warned that anyone involved in visual depiction of sexually explicit involving a child commits an offense and is liable upon conviction to be sentenced to 14 years. A mother of a 10-year-old student pupil says that she found out that her daughter was allegedly sexually abused. The mother says some head teacher told her that it was just a kiss between her daughter and a boy from the school. She says that her daughter told her one of the teachers threatened her not to speak about it. Lagos state government is taking it very seriously and investigating. A legal luminary, Chief Afe Babalola, has opined that instead of 2023 election, there should be an interim national government who should be instituted at the end of President Muhammadu Buhari's tenure. Addressing a press conference in Ado-Ekiti, Chief Afe Babalola said that there should be what he called a new look people's constitution. He said the constitution that we have now is the constitution should provide for a part-time legislature as well as non-executive president. Meanwhile, he said there should be an interim government of office for 6 months to chart the new course for a new Nigeria. He proposes that the interim government should comprise of some living former presidents and vice president, as well as some selected ministers and governors of the past, and as well as delegates of prominent associations, which include Nigeria Medical Association, Nigeria Bar Association, Nigeria Labour Congress, as well as...
sorry for interjecting. I was just wondering why he should come up with this ideology at this point in time, at this level of our development.
I think he pointed out two things. First of all, he says the constitution we are working off is a contraption imposed by the military. And secondly, the federalism we are working is not the true federalism. And therefore, the task of the interim government will be to provide for a constitution
but the National
that will
Assembly,
make the tenure of the legislature part-time.
But the National Assembly is working on some amendments, right? But if he's advocating that we should start afresh, to begin to, articulate a new constitution altogether, that's a very huge job to do. But as against what he's advocating, if Nigeria is now becomes administered by an interim government, it will appear as if all is not well with the nation.
He says that interim government should be there for a period of about 6 months before it comes in. Sadly, many people allude to the 1999 constitution as saying that it's a military contraption. And somebody who did a detailed study of the 1999 constitution says that the 1979 constitution, which the Constituent Assembly built, is almost a carbon copy of the 1999 constitution. And sadly, many of the prominent Nigerians who were members of the Constituent Assembly in 1979 that drafted that constitution, which is now copied in 1999, have still turned around to say that this is a military
construction. I mean, the military never sat on their own to generate a constitution. There was a Constitutional Assembly, as you rightly pointed out. They never did it on their own. Nigerians contributed, Nigerians from all strata of life contributed to that constitution. So taking us to interim administration will be, for me and many other Nigerians, a setback.
There is this interesting story too that I think is food for thought for all of us. The DN of Agbo, His Royal Majesty Benjamin Kiegbore Kuzi, one, has advised politicians of the APC and PDP to guard against bitter rivalry and bloodshed and build Nigeria from the 2023 elections. The monarch said he advised the deputy president of the Senate, Ovioma Agege, when he visited Agbo. And hear what the monarch said. He said, Nigerians are in their need of good leadership that will revive the economy of the country and not guns and bloodshed. He says, the monarch said that, please, both parties, remember that we are all one people. We are friends that cut across both parties. Both the PDP members and that of the APC are not your enemies. Please, let's take Nigeria forward. And at the end of the day, what we are looking for is peace and development. We don't need guns. We don't need violence. Please bring your best brain power to take the country forward. I think there's no better advice to our politicians, especially that we are gearing up for these political times. The other response is also from the presidency to the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto. The special advisor to the president, Mr. Femi Adesina, said that, gave his own response. Mr. Adesina said, the answer, he tweeted that those who divided Nigeria with their mouths, with evil and unguarded speech, are now accusing President Buhari. Their wicked intention shall not come to pass. However, Garba Shehu, another spokesman for the president, specifically said that this is bully from the pulpit, hateful talk, and that if the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto wants to join politics, he should drop his cassock and take up the politics. He specifically made references to the Bible, citing James 1:26, where he says that anyone religious who does not bridle his tongue deceives his heart and his religion is worthless. He says after several scriptural references, he enjoins the Bishop of Sokoto to at least continue his religious duties undiluted before God, or put away his clerical garb and join politics and see how far he can go.
That's one. Is there another story here that we need to...
There's that one that Yusuf read about 5 days after the Council of State granted pardon, 159 Nigerians who benefited from the meeting of the National Council of State are still to be let go. And the information from the correctional center is that they are still awaiting a letter, formal letter, from the Attorney General of the Federation.
Before they can be released.
So they can be released.
But I've been
you recall that it happened last week, and immediately Friday there's a public holiday. There's a public holiday on Monday, and so today is the first working day. So maybe they will do all they can to ensure that such letters are quickly put across.
Anyway, great enough now. They are free men anyway, whatever it is. Already the pronouncement has been made. So they are free people. By today, tomorrow or so, they would listen. But my major concern is one story here in the Punch newspaper. I don't know whether you've touched on that, but it's about the minimum wage 4 years after. Civil servants in Cross River State, Taraba, Zamfara, yet to benefit from the minimum wage 4 years after.
You just mentioned a few, because I know there are more.
The minimum wage has been a problem in the sense that if you hear the argument before it was a minimum wage declared at the federal level. And some state government were saying that they didn't have the wherewithal to pay it. And the argument came whether it was a minimum wage at the federal level and not a minimum wage at the state level. If you look critically, you see that the pay structure at the federal level is not the same at the pay structure at the state level.
But at least every state should be able to meet that minimum. That's why it's minimum wage.
National minimum wage, yes.
If you brand it national, it's as if those other workers are not Nigerians. Right. And sorry, Ladabo, you know, before the amount was reached, recall that there were several meetings involving state government, the labor, federal government, and all of that. So to say that it's a national minimum wage will be to exclude the other workers, the workers at the state level, and it's not.
When it comes to responsibilities, we Nigerians are very good at giving excuses. There was an argument that in a federation, the entities, the federal, the state, and the local government are supposed to be autonomous on their own. So you cannot impose across the other. The question is, where lies the minimum wage? Is it on the exclusive legislatively concurrent list, or where? And if you remember, when they were going around the country, many states kept on saying that they cannot afford to pay that amount of money that was being decided as the national minimum wage.
But
so that is I'm not justifying it, but I think those are the excuses that is beginning to play out.
But I think the minimum wage, according to some other states too, as they understood it, is that at least no civil servant should collect less than 30,000.
Exactly. So
that's just the bottom line.
No civil servant, and federal civil servant or state civil servant or local government civil servant.
Whatever it is, all over this country, if a civil servant shouldn't collect less than 30,000 naira. And then for the other ones above, the lowest to the top, it remains now for the state to negotiate.
To negotiate, exactly.
And then see what kind of percentage they can give them, either 1%, 2%, whatever, some increment. I know some states went ahead and then gave some increments of some, a few of the money they had. That's trying to give maybe 10,000, 20,000 just across board, or as the level goes up, and there it goes. But the person with the least pay should have not less than 30,000.
Yes.
And what this means now is that in Cross River, Tarawas, and some other states, there are civil servants that are yet to collect 30,000 naira as minimum.
In fact, NLC had threatened to call off their workers on strike in some states that have not implemented it. And there were states that were saying that the 30,000 minimum wage was no news to them because they were already paying far above that 30,000.
There's no problem with that. If you're paying, there's no problem. But for those who have not been paying, they shouldn't go less than that or below that at least.
Okay. We didn't actually, look at this issue properly. The issue of the gangsters in Dubai, because it's becoming outrageous that in Nigeria, in some schools, you hear such vices, taking place. This school organized a kind of tour for pupils, in Dubai. And that the allegation is that when they got to Dubai, the teachers who were responsible for those children left them on their own. And that could have, brought about, the misbehavior that ensued in the hotel. Otherwise, if the teachers were present, they would have been able to monitor the pupils, because for you to take pupils, the underaged, out of this country, for whatever tour that it is, you should be able to monitor them 24/7. These are pupils. These are children. All right. So, but Lagos government has reacted positively, by shutting down the school for further investigation.
Yes. In fact, the investigation are several levels. The element of crime is to be investigated by the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State. The element of violating the school rules, because Lagos State has a new set of rules that guiding parent, teacher, pupil relationship, and also safety of children. They are investigating that on their own. And again, there are rules regarding sexual violence. They are investigating that. But you find out that it is always in elite schools that you have parents being forced to pay for excursion money for their children to travel outside the country on excursion. And when they go there, the level of supervision is limited. And the children are virtually on their own. Some of their activities are already virtual on the social media. And that is why the parent is bitter and is complaining about what has happened.
Okay, Bayo, at this point, we would like to thank you for your analysis. We hope to see you again tomorrow for more on newspaper review. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we are going to be looking at the main topic for today. That's voter registration. Stay with us.
The 157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Mobolaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigerians.
This is a station that we have to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic and political arena.
I can say that I'm really impressed with the infrastructures in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportations, kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer-long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Now, for almost 10 months, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been undertaking continuous voter registration nationwide, but with some challenges ranging from insecurity to COVID-19 pandemic. But the Commission remains resolute to discharging its mandate of conducting credible elections, beginning from voter registration. Joseph Osen now put together this report to begin our conversation.
The permanent voter cards, PVC, is the most important tool used by Nigerians to elect leaders at the national, state and local government levels during elections. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is saddled with the responsibility of producing the cards, and over the years the Commission has continued to come up with innovations to make the process better, from the automated fingerprint identification system to the introduction of the automatic biometric identification system. In 2021, registration of voters can commence online and completed physically. Also, the continuous voter registration is now broken down into 4 phases from the quarterly exercise, as the Commission gears towards faster, less crowded atmosphere and early accessibility of PVCs, not only to the prospective registrants, but also to registered voters who may wish to transfer their registration or have had their permanent voter cards missing or defaced. But since 1999, the process of production, issuance and collection of PVCs have continued to have issues, depriving many of participating in the democratic process. For instance, data obtained from the voter enrollment device of INEC during the 2019 general election indicates only 34.75% of registered voters cast their votes, though several variables including voter apathy and malfunction of equipment played key roles. Large number of registered voters did not access their voter cards to exercise their civic rights of voting representatives of choice. As important as the permanent voter card is, many registered voters are failing to show up and collect them, with large amounts still stuck in INEC centers across the country. At a press conference held last week, Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, declared 1.8 million permanent voter cards for those registered from June to December 2021 ready for collection and over 1 million invalid registrations. He blamed the invalid registration to ignorance on the part of persons involved, as double registrations were detected while incomplete data rendered others useless.
A total of 1,854,859 PVCs are now ready. The queues were not as long, but now I'm sure the queues will build up, particularly after this press conference, when Nigerians know that we are going to end on June 30th.
Meanwhile, the Commission has suspended the continuous voter registration exercise in Ubuma local government area of Imo State, following the killing of one of its staff involved in the exercise by gunmen. For sure, attacks like this hindered INEC from delivering on its mandate on time. But questions like what is stopping many from collecting already produced cards and why so much invalid registrations. As the 2023 general elections draw closer, what is the implication on the electoral process and what can be done to improve? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be sharing perspectives on these questions soon.
Well, many thanks Joseph Watson for that background. And the topic, as we said earlier on, is continuous voter registration. Now, joining us in the studio to discuss this very important topic is Victor Aluko, Director of Voter Education and Publicity, INEC. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, Victor.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Right. We also have in the studio Yusuf Mohammed Ntale, National Secretary, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC that is, and the National Chairman, Allied People's Movement. Many thanks for joining us, Ntale.
You're welcome. Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, let's also introduce Paul James, Program Manager in charge of elections, Yaga Africa. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay, gentlemen, we have a near sensitive topic here this morning to talk about, and of course Nigerians will really want to get much more from us and from you, especially talking about the continuous voter registration. Let's get started with Victor Aluko, Director of Voter Education and Publicity, INEC. Recently, just a few days ago, the chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, briefed the nation about progress made so far in this regard. And of course, a lot has been said. He said so much so that Nigerians are still asking questions, and that is why we intend to really talk more about this today. Give us an overview of what the chairman said, talking about the continuous voter registration exercise.
Thank you. The chairman was just briefing Nigerians about the progress of the exercise. And he gave what I would call situation report about what we did between June 28 last year when we started the program and December. And December, just a period of 6 months. and he was able to let Nigerians know that 2.5 million persons completed the registration, the exercise. Out of the 2.5 million, we had 1,390,000 that were valid registrations, and we had 1,126,000 registrations that were invalid. And of course, he also let Nigerians know that INEC had the capability to clean up the register, to remove the invalid registration, and to retain the valid registration. And he went further to inform Nigerians that INEC printed the permanent voters cards for those valid registrations, and that those cards will be ready for collection immediately. He was giving Nigerians a situation report. And one good thing about that report was to make people know that we had the capacity to clean the registration done by people, and to let people know that you don't have to do double registration. If you do, we have the equipment to know and to remove any form of double registration from our register. And also to let those who completed their valid registrations know that their cards have been printed and their cards will be made available. And you know, we are in the last quarter of the exercise now. We will finish the exercise by the end of June. And it's good for those who will be participating to know that you should do exactly as we said, that the exercise, those who should register are those who have not registered before. We created an electronic voter register in 2011. That register is alive. If you have registered and your name is there, you don't need to register again. But if you have issues like you need to transfer your registration, or you need to, your card is spoiled or damaged or lost, and you need to get another card, all you need to do is to let us know. You don't have to register afresh. You let us know. Or if your name was misspelled before, you had issues, all that, you also let us know, so that we correct the spellings, we correct your data, and we do the needful. So we're trying to let people know, now that we know that the exercise is nearing the end, there could be a surge. People should not do double registration. Just tell us exactly what you want to do. Are you just 18 years or above, or you didn't register before? Let us know so that you register afresh. Is it that you want to do a transfer? Tell us so that we transfer you. Is it that you want a replacement of your spoiled card? Tell us so that we get you a new card. The chairman was just trying to let people know, exactly what the situation is now as at this month, April 2022.
All right, Victor, let's stay with you. What led to the invalidity of over 1.126 million voters? Is this just as a result of double registration, or are there other registration offenses that made those number of people number of those registrations invalid?
Well, the chairman talked about most of them engaging in double registration, that is, whether ignorantly or deliberately. I was telling you that he mentioned the issue of persons who needed to transfer. Instead of transferring, they just went to our centers and registered afresh. They also talked about people who needed to get new voters cards because maybe they lost their cards, or their cards were defaced or spoiled or damaged, and they went to our centers and registered afresh. So all those ones became invalid registrations, and as we said, once you do that, we're able to pick that from our computers, and we immediately flag them red, and we're able to remove them. So most of the people he was talking about that were invalid registrants were those who are engaging in double registration.
Okay, we'll come back to you later in the course of this program, Mr. Victor. Let's hear from Yaga Africa. Paul James, what's your assessment of, the INEC's progress in this regard? Talking about, we're looking at that from the background of what the INEC chairman said, and then the progress they've made so far. Are they really on track? What's your assessment of the, of the progress of INEC so far?
Thank you very much.
Especially talking about voter registration.
Yeah, I listened to the INEC chairman, and then I got a copy of the speech afterwards. I went through the speech, and for me there is so much to unpack from the part of INEC, the electoral offenses I saw based on this speech, and also the enthusiasm on the part of Nigerians to participate in the process. But going back also to what you have said in terms of measuring progress, I'm an Oliver Twist. I wanted more. Like, I actually expected the figure should have gone higher than what INEC had reported, going by the history of previous exercises, unless we are saying we have registered the vast majority of Nigerians that are supposed to be eligible voters. Because if you go back to the 2011, for instance, within the space of 3 weeks, the INEC then registered 73 million Nigerians. Cleanup happened before 2015, and I removed 4 million Nigerians. Going into the 2015 election, before then, based on the speech, there are also some addition we got for those elections that happened before the 2015. And through the 2019, if you recall, this current INEC between April of 2017 and August of 2018, INEC said it registered about 14 million Nigerians for the 2019 election. So I anticipated that, looking at also the months under review, about 6-7 months, that we should be talking about half the number by now, given also the type of commitment we have seen on the part of Nigerians, both those engaged in voter education efforts and also young people or first-time voters that also want to access the voter registration or want to be part of the process. Now, we have to also go back and look at the whole process and how it started. We recall the challenges with even getting some people registered in the initial stages from June the 28th when it started. We had first of problems of even the device that INEC had deployed not functioning properly, and also some centers, INEC officials telling you they are not able to access the device because the codes for accessing the device were changed over time. But even when it started, we saw that commitment on the part of INEC to make that progress that we have seen. Now, INEC was coming up with weekly updates or some, updates to tell Nigerians the progress they have made. And then I expected that the kind of update we got last year should have come along those updates, especially regarding invalid registration, so that when these problems are there, people know the problems are there, and then we can begin to talk about how to remedy the process, the problems. We have just barely 2 months to the end of the exercise, and then I am concerned that within the space of 6 or 7 months, INEC have only registered 2.5 million Nigerians, and of the 2.5, we're hearing that 44 or 45% are invalid. Now, if you go through those statistics, the majority of these issues, most of the problems were from the south. What does that tell us? There were a lot of also concerns we saw even around on the part of some of the politicians, and the sort of misinformation or misconception we saw around the process. Some people telling voters that you have to go and revalidate your voters card. Even recently, another comment came up last week, for instance, that people need to do revalidation. And then also, even on the part of the politicians, we all know it's all about numbers. Some people just encouraging people or pushing people to go get registered in the exercise. So I expected that this review had happened earlier than now, but here we are. Is INEC doing well? Yes. Does INEC need to do better? I think yes, especially given the number. I think they had a target before now to register 90 million Nigerians. If from this cleanup alone, close to 45% of what they had done in the last 6 or 7 months, they have been able to remove those. So I wonder what will happen between now and the end of the exercise. And this also begs the question that we need to start talking about even the quality of the register, as it were, since our elections are conducted based on the number of people we have on the register. So maybe those are also the kind of conversation INEC needs to start having.
Okay, Victor will respond to some of these issues you raised on the part of INEC, because of course many Nigerians will as well, think the same direction with you, that between June last year and now, INEC was able to register 2.5 million, and out of that number, over 1.126 million remain invalid. All right, let's bring in Yusuf Maman Dantale. What's your assessment? Of course, you're a party man, and James raised a number of issues here, also coming from the part of the politicians, right, so who perhaps don't really have a good understanding of what INEC is doing by asking people to go and revalidate, which INEC never, said. So what is your view about the progress so far?
Okay, thank you so much. Number one, as the primary institution, stakeholders, INEC, I want to say that INEC has performed very, very well. One, you don't have a perfect election anywhere in the world, but you have a free, fair, and credible election. But the credibility of INEC performance now compared to what INEC was before, I think is far better. Why do I say so? There are two major things INEC have introduced. One is the BVAS. Okay, these are bimodal voters registration accreditation system. What does it do? Why do we have what we have now? This voters card that are invalidated. Let me say this. Before INEC does anything, first INEC consult with political parties of any innovation they want to bring. We have to agree with INEC on what to do. So before this innovation, INEC discussed with all the political parties last year and then they demonstrated some of these things, how it works. So this is a result of what I think we have seen the result now for the first time. Because they told us this, and where they tried to experiment this, you see multiple registration, one person having 3-4 voters card. You understand? So, but with this, it will be difficult because the BVAS, it captures not just your fingerprint, but your facial appearance. You understand? So it does a lot of things to filter the authenticity of the voters. That is one. Two, yes, INEC is also saddled concerning the responsibility of educating, creating awareness among voters, which they are doing through the political parties. But I feel, just like you taking the horse to the stream and forcing the horse to drink water, INEC have tried through the political parties and other stakeholders, but then the political parties and politicians too, we need to create more awareness, okay, on the part of our followers, our members, to go and vote, and a lot of people are doing that. So while I think the delay, okay, in the numbers that he is talking about is because of the screening. The system is not as easy. Because INEC has made it easier one way, because you first have to do it online. You can do it. You can stay in your bedroom. You can stay in your sitting room to register to a point that you need to go, and this is meant to reduce queue at the polling unit. And they will give you an appointment to come. And I think it has worked for so many. But you should understand that this is a new innovation, and it will not just pick up like that. We have to get through the system gradually, and I think for me and for political parties, INEC is doing INEC has done very well. But one thing I won't leave behind to mention is that inclusivity in our system, it has to be holistic. And how do I mean? If INEC can go down from the national level to the state, to the local government, to the world level, to do these things, what is stopping INEC from conducting the local government election? Though it's not within the purview of this discussion, but then we are saying as political parties that the best way to have inclusivity and reduce some of these complaints and frictions in the system, okay, and include more participation in the system, is to scrap this thing called a state independent electoral commission.
That's going to be a topic for another day, for another day, as you said. But all the same, I think INEC should be looking into that and looking at the reforms and looking at the, constitutional amendment that is ongoing. Victor Aluko, you had these two gentlemen talk about some of the things you've done, and of course, the credit was given, and of course, some more asking for more, like Paul James, who insists he's Oliver Twist. But let's look at it from the point of view of what he said, talking about the revalidation of these cards and the processes as touched on by Dantale here, and how Nigerians should really approach it and make it easy for them to, see to it that they are part of these elections. What is earlier Nigerians supposed to do? Already they need to really go and then get their PVCs for sure if they have registered. But if they haven't, and they have really reasons to really change or do or get, if they are 18 years and above, and then maybe they have some problems with their previous PVC, and of course they really need to change their location. There are issues around this. Then of course you find a lot of people doing the, what is not supposed to be done, and in which case you find so many of these registrations becoming invalid. Throw more light on this for us.
Thank you. I think we need to state clearly that we have a valid voter register on ground, and as at the end of 2019 general elections, we had 84 million persons, Nigerians, in that register. And now, with the valid registrations of 1.390 million, we have added to that register, so it's more than 84 million now. What we are doing is a form of update. Let us clearly understand that the responsibility to get into the register is that of the eligible citizen. The responsibility to become a voter is that of the eligible citizen. An eligible citizen is the person that has turned 18 years and above or did not register before. All ANEC is doing is to provide the opportunity for that citizen to be able to perform his civic duty, that is, register, have a voter's card, so that on election day, he or she can go and vote. We need to understand that. So what we have done is to roll out at the centers so that these particular persons who have not registered can register. If you registered before, you don't have, your card is okay, it's in good condition, you have not transferred, you are still where you are, you don't have any problems at all with your data, you don't need to participate at all. It doesn't concern you. All we will tell you is that we thank you for being on our voters register. Keep your voters cards safely, that is your permanent voters card. Keep them very well. On election day, take your cards and go and vote. I will need to let people know that the responsibility also to keep your cards well is yours. INEC will not come to your houses and come and take your card and keep it in your wardrobe. No, you have to keep your cards well so that they don't get spoiled. Because once your card gets spoiled, it will be difficult for you to be able to use it to vote. You have to get another card. So INEC as an institution, we're doing our best to provide the platform for eligible Nigerians to be able to register as voters. And also to provide this platform for those whose cards are in bad shape or who have lost their cards, so that you can get new cards free of charge. And also for people who have transferred from one location to the other, because every day people keep moving, so that you can move your registration to your new locations, so that we can assign you to a polling unit, so that election day you'll be able to exercise your franchise. So we are doing what we should do as an institution, but we need to let Nigerians know that this is just a normal exercise. There's no need to be anxious in any way. There's no need to do any wrong thing like double registration. As I mentioned before, the criteria we set, they are all, clear. If you have not registered before and your name is not on our register, it's an opportunity for you to register. And we are calling on families, we are calling on parents. If you have your daughters or sons who have come of age, encourage them to participate. If you yourself, you're an adult, you have not registered before, it's good to register because you'll be able to participate in electing your leaders. And we're also calling on people, when you move from one place to the other, there's opportunity for you to transfer. So you can all come to our centers, tell us exactly what you want to do. Exactly what you want. If you want to register, tell us. If you want a new card, tell us. If you want to transfer, tell us. If you have problems with your data before, tell us. All this we have provided for. We have trained our staff to be able to attend to persons. And we have also let Nigerians know that we have the equipment to be able to detect any double registration. If you registered before in Port Harcourt and you are now living in Kano and you decide to go and register when you should not register, we will know and we will remove that registration. That's all we are saying. Technology keeps improving every day. So we are saying that people should just do the right thing. It's an opportunity for persons who are eligible to participate, so that by the time we get to 2023, every eligible Nigerian will be able to vote.
Mr. Victor, just a minute, Mr. Victor, before we cross over to something else, let's, conclude this issue of, registering, especially for those who have been displaced from their various homes and places. It's no news that insecurity, it's a problem in this country at this moment, and of course a lot of communities have been wiped away. Some have been displaced, some have been dislodged and dislocated. So what happens to this kind of people? What are they going to do? What should they do? Where are they going to start from? Bearing in mind also that when we look at the process of registering, as you said, you can start online and then move on to to the nearest center and get your registration completed. Some of these places are inaccessible, especially talking about network, internet and things like that. And some of these Nigerians are more or less not being able to have these equipments you may think that they may use in order to get online registration with. What's their faith?
Well, we need to face reality. The issue of online pre-registration was designed to help those who are able to access it. If you are in a place where there's no network, or you are in a place where you have one problem or the other with the technology, just go and do physical registration. Go to our center and do physical registration. We are talking about places where you don't have network, so you cannot go online. If you cannot go online, it's not compulsory to go online. We made that facility available to those who can go online. It's just an added opportunity so that you can go online, begin your registration online, and then get a date that you can come to our office and complete it. Because even if you begin online, you must still come to our center to come and complete it, because there's no way we can get your fingerprints online. We cannot take your picture, that is your facials, online, So we encourage people who are able to participate, or to start registration online, to do so. And those who are in places where they cannot do that, the option of physical registration is always there. We just ask people to take responsibility. Sometimes, you can encounter some little difficulties to do a good thing. Registering as a voter is a very good thing, because it's the next thing to voting. They are like Siamese twins. Before you can vote, you must register. You must have your PVC. So we are encouraging people who are eligible to take responsibility. If you have a little pains, just to bear them, take responsibility. If you are in a place where you can't get network, go physically and register. Get to our centers and register. And if you are in a place where you want to begin online, then take the opportunity. Begin online, then later get to our offices, our centers, and complete the registration. What we are saying is that the responsibility to become a voter on a PVC is essentially that of the eligible citizen. It's our duty to make it as seamless, as easy, as much as possible for that citizen. And I think as a commission, within the situation we have found ourselves, within the circumstances, the security situation, the level of technology in the country, and the whole situation, it's a big country really. We're trying to do as much as we can do.
What about the insecurity issue we're talking about here?
Pardon?
The insecurity issue we're talking about, those affected by insecurity, displaced, dislodged, and whatever.
We know. We should, like I said before, we should face reality. There are people that have been displaced. If your community was attacked and you had to run for your life, the least thing you will remember will be your possessions or your card. So there are people who had to run for lives and have lost their card in the process. And that's why we have a process for people to get the new cards. That is process for getting new cards when you have lost your cards. But all this you still have to let us know. You have to tell us that you have lost your card. And we don't need to query you so much about why you lost your card. Once you convince us that you have lost your card, we'll get you a new card.
Okay, thank you. If you can get a new card for someone who has lost his card without regarding it as a double registration, that would be nice. Paul James, you earlier alluded to the fact that 2.5 million people registered is not sufficient. You know, looking at the time that the exercise commenced since June last year. And of course, we've all talked about the 1.126 million people whose registration remained invalid. And since we're using a device provided by INEC to do this, why would somebody register twice successfully before you begin to determine whether the person has registered twice? Perhaps one would have thought that in the process of registering the person, you would have discovered that, look, this person had been registered before now. So you don't need to, get him registered at all and declare it invalid at the end of the day. That's number one. Number two is this: in the course of your, monitoring the process, right? Did you ever have an idea that some INEC staff may be conniving with registrants, perhaps to commit some of these infractions we're talking about?
Thank you very much. I anticipated this question, but I also expected that in the last 20-25 minutes of conversation, the INEC boss here will have mentioned the area about the electoral offenses and also the appropriate sanctions. Now, I'm trying to make a connection also between the online pre-registration and also the physical registration. I don't think most of these infractions will have happened when you do the online registration, because you cannot, like he had rightly mentioned, you cannot complete the process, especially for fingerprints and taking your facials and all of that, until you approach an INEC official. So I feel the INEC staff are complicit here. I feel they collude with some of these voters to aid and abet these processes, and also some could be out of ignorance, especially from the voter, for instance, especially with the eagerness to get registered, with the eagerness or the challenges also that we have seen also with some voters' card. I registered during the exercise in 2010 or 2011, and my face is almost defaced from my card. I also will have been tempted to go back and do this. So sometimes it's why you don't have sufficient information about how to go about these processes. People go back to go get registered. Or like I had also mentioned earlier, the concerns around some politicians telling people to go and revalidate your card. Now, if INEC is claiming to have a device that can detect double registration, why not activate this device at the point of registration, so that as I am putting my fingerprint on, it is spotting the fact that, oh, I had registered previously and I don't have to register again. Then if I have problems updating my record, that can be done there and then, and we don't have to waste this manpower and waste people's time to begin to talk about this issue 6 months down the line. I anticipated that this will have happened right at the point of registration. So I think the INEC officials are also complicit. I think we have to say things the way they are. What are the electoral offenses for double registration? Section 23 of the electoral states, for instance, anybody that involves in double registrations is liable to a 1-year imprisonment or a fine of 100,000. Most times it's because voters don't know about this, and that is why we go about doing this. So we need to also start providing education around some of these issues. Now, I started my conversation by referring us back to the 2011 registration that happened under 3 weeks, and we got 73 million Nigerians registered. If the online process is confusing, or if we don't have clarity about how to go about the online process, please, I want to plead with INEC. The next 2 months that we have, can we just do away with whatever has the connotation online and talk about people approach our office and get registered? What were the issues that we observed taken from the 2019 election, for instance? I think in 2019, INEC had about 46,000 registration centers. Now they got about 2,700 thereabout centers for registration. The challenges we saw in the past were that these centers were even far from the people. If we're talking about doubling these figures, for instance, we got 40 million or 50 million for the 2019. 50 million, and I cleaned up 1 million, and then we ended up with about 40 million added to the register to the 84 million that INEC had mentioned. Now, in 6 months, we have only just 2.5 million. Out 45% of that figure is invalid. So the point I'm making here is we need to also look at other associated challenges for the voter. Now, assessing the voter registration areas, those centers, is a problem. I got somebody last week, for instance, that we assisted in the office to do a pre-online registration. The two available centers for this person is to go to either Buhari or to go to Karu. This person lives in Gwarimpa. If this person doesn't have resources to transport themselves to Buhari or Karu, you have technically disenfranchised this person by putting these centers away from the person. Now, if we have new location, INEC need to also intensify voter education to tell people where these new locations are so that people can access those locations and get registered. 2 months is not too far from now. We are ending this process. INEC is ending this process in June. INEC need to help Nigerians. If we have the target of attaining at least 90 million registered voters, please, I think this is the time that we need to put that in motion and also ensure we have these centers that are accessible, and also that the INEC officials are up and doing. And most especially also, if you want to build confidence in the process, we need to begin to hear issues about sanction for erring officials, sanction also for politicians that are colluding with these officials to conduct the act of double registration, or sanction also for the politicians that are also peddling misinformation about the need for people to go and revalidate their cards.
Okay, Victor Aluko, I think it's high time you respond to some of these issues here. At least you heard him very well, talking about the centers that have been a little bit far away from the registrants, and of course talking about technology, especially when you look at that critically. If somebody had registered, and of course he goes again to re-register for whatever reason, and then he cannot just be identified right there and then until when after registering, and then it happens to be a wasted effort on his part, and of course a wasted effort on the part of INEC. These are issues that are supposed to have been looked into, or are supposed to be looked into by INEC. And talking about sanctions too, as he mentioned, how would you respond to these issues, and what should Nigerians know about how to deal with this?
Thank you. I think we need to flow with what we've been doing for some time now. There was a time we announced to the public that we devolved this CVR exercise to wards. We call the wards registration areas. And we did that to make it easier for people. And that's why even in Imo State, that was a center in a ward where our staff was killed. We were registering people in our local government offices and our state offices. In Abuja Municipal, the office of the area council, our office in the area council is located in Karu. And our FCT office is located in area 10. We are registering in these two places. So it was important for people to know. And we now had an arrangement where in each ward in the country, our officials were able to organize so that they moved the equipment around the wards. And this has been done successfully, and it's going on successfully all over the country. That is, there are local arrangements made with stakeholders where particular days the registration equipment comes to particular places in each ward. And we are doing this successfully just to be able to get this closer to the people. And we should also know that every step you take costs money. Yes, everything you do costs money. So we also have to look at the cost of the exercise. I mean, when we are talking about we should do this, we should do that, we also look at the cost of the exercise. When you look at the economic situation of the country now, INEC cannot get all the money that the country has. There are other responsibilities government has. We get all our money from government. We are not a revenue generating agency. But I think so. I'm just trying to let people know that when we are designing our exercises for all this, we also try our best to be cost conscious, and we'll devolve to world level so that we can get closer to people. And this is being done successfully nationwide. One thing I want to say is that all other agencies of government, other non-governmental organizations, CSOs, must also help INEC in terms of voter education. When we are saying INEC should educate Nigerians, INEC should do this, we are doing our best. NTA is doing this now as part of voter education. Many media organizations are also doing this. So NGOs, civil society organizations, other organizations, governmental agencies should also help in terms of letting people know. Because one thing is, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, registering to vote, participating in the electoral process, they are all willful acts. People do them willingly. There's no compulsion anywhere. And so when we talk about our expectations in terms of how many persons we believe will participate in an exercise, and at the end of the day, this is the number we have, it is, at the end of the day, people have the right to choose what to do. If you talk and talk and talk, and you expect 100 persons to come and do something, and 70 comes to do that, are you going to go and arrest the other 30 for not doing? And in terms of the issue of invalid registration, truly, as my colleague here mentioned, those 1,126,000 persons, 126,000 persons who are on that list of invalid registration, most of them committed double registration. And I agree, it's an offense. It's an offense. And if the security agencies want to go after the more than 1 million persons, prosecute them and put them in jail, let them do that. But for INEC, we are focusing on our work. We try our best to dissuade people, to let people know that please do the right thing. It's not our job to put anybody in jail. It is the job of security agencies. So we believe that Nigerians should listen very well when we say this is the methodology for this, these are the guidelines for this is the way we want you to do things, and go ahead and do. But we know that when you are talking to human beings, no matter what you say, some people will still do the wrong thing. So you factor all this into your plans, that some people will still do the wrong thing. But we are encouraged to continue to do our best for the country. In terms of the issue of identify double registration immediately, you know, we don't register people directly into the register. That's one thing we need to know. We don't, when you go to our center, we don't just register you directly into the register. The register is a protected register. It is a protected register. What we do is we harvest all those who come for registration. And when we get that data, we first go and clean up that data first. We remove the dirt. And when the data is now okay, when it is clean, we now add it to the existing register. That is what we do, and that is the system we use. So let people know that that is what we do. We don't register you immediately as you show at our center. We don't register you directly into the voters register. The voter register is a protected register. What we do is we get your data, we get everything, and all those people who come within the period, then we clean that register. We clean that temporary register and then add the valid ones to the existing register. It is good for us to know. That's the technology we are using now.
All right, thank you. That's a good technology, but what Paul James did say earlier on was that at the point of the moment, you know, the device is taking your thumbprint, that should have been a reaction from the system to say, look, this finger has been here before.
We used to have what they call,
and you don't have to even go through the registration of that person at all. You know, just told the person at that point in time. That's what you are.
Yeah,
what I was trying to explain.
They used to have IFIs, which they do actually after cleanup, like you said. Now they have upgraded to IBs, automated bimodal identification system. What I'm just saying is, can we also upgrade the system to say at the point of registration, my face is my face, it will not change. My finger is my finger, it will not change. So can we upgrade it to say even at the, so we can cut down all of these excesses, cut down the unnecessary expenses. That
Yusuf, you want to add to that?
Yes,
but I also want to ask you this. You know, what is the role of political parties in all of this, in terms of voter education, in terms of advising their followers on the right thing to do. And again, are you satisfied with the number of voters that were able to be registered and validated between June last year and today?
Okay. Before I answer this question, I want to add a little to what this question, and then maybe to add to what Mr. Aluko said. Now, there is a difference. I want to understand the difference between application for registration and the final registration. So, I think it's a process. That is why you can't complete everything on your own. You see, there are situations where somebody will apply or something wants to, maybe he thinks it's successful or it's not successful. But by the time you get to the final point of registration, that is where the system will now separate your double application, you understand, and filter what is right and take one out of it. I think that is what is there. But I don't know how the technology works. But based on what we were taught and educated by INEC, this is the response to that. And Mr. Aluko, what I expect INEC to do, I want to disagree with some of the things you said when he pointed out that the easy accessibility or inaccessibility of registrants or prospective registrants to the centers. I think what INEC need to do here is to do more, to provide more of these machines, more of these centers to the registrant, since there are complaints of a distance and all that, because that will help. Because if that is the case, we will, in our own interaction with INEC too, we'll have to discuss this with INEC and then tell INEC to do more on this. Then fine. On one thing, we as politicians or as umbrella body of all the political parties in Nigeria, intermittently we embark on voters education, sensitization and awareness. Most times we even get the support from INEC. INEC support us in doing this. We do this almost every time. Like now, there's election coming up in Ekiti and Ondo State. We are preparing to go to Ekiti and Ondo to go and do that. But where we only do that where we think the atmosphere, the environment is secure for us to do it. But while we do it physically, we do it through provision of flyers. We go to the media, we talk through you people, we talk through the social media, and we do a lot of this. But what you must understand is, first, the people, the electorate themselves, what is the level of confidence of the electorate on the system itself? And that is where we begin to talk about the politicians. You get? So some of us, the electorate feel, this is the usual thing. These people just come and do what they want to do and go and then make their money and go. So some people don't even go. If you look at the stratification of a number of registration from the geopolitical zone, I don't want to mention any zone, but yourself you can see where people maybe where the awareness is higher and where it is lower. During registration at times in the past, you see some people, northerners, going in trucks, they go in trailers, they go back just because they want to exercise their civic right, they do it. But there are other regions in this country that some people don't let it go. You understand? But still, what we will do is to continue to urge Nigerians that the only way you can be part of the system is to participate. You don't just get it on a platter of gold. If you don't exercise, you don't have the right to complain. But at political party level, we try as much as possible to sensitize, to educate, and create more awareness on a regular basis. And we are doing it every time.
Well, okay, thank you, Paul James.
You don't seem convinced.
No, it's, you know, because we're talking about numbers, and at this point of registration, that is where the rigging of election begins. That's also where the election itself starts. That if you don't get it right at this registration point, then we're going to have issues during the election. We could have voter apathy during the elections. You know, because of course, the last election we conducted in Nigeria was Anambra. And you know the number of people that voted. I mean, the number of people that voted really is clearly indicated that people are losing interest, you know, in terms of voting. And you mentioned about the issue of trust. Whether people are going to trust you or they want to believe that, yes, Nigerian politicians will always come and say what they have to say, make their money and go their way, and not being realistic. I think we'll have to take a short break here. When we come back, the conversation continues. Do stay with us.
Foundation International, with the support of the Nigerian Cancer Society, the Office of the Nigerian First Lady, the Future Assured Foundation, the First Ladies Against Cancer, the Sweet Home Humanitarian African Foundation, and other esteemed partners, present the Savvy Breast mobile application, a game changer in the fight against breast and cervical cancer. The first of its kind anywhere in the world. Life-saving, unique, innovative, educative, interactive, engaging, and informative. Designed by a Nigerian for Nigerians, for everyone, male, female, old, young, rich, poor. It sends customizable reminders for cervical cancer screening and breast self-examination. Top Nollywood star. It locates breast and cervical cancer service providers at discounts from any village, town, city, or state in Nigeria. It is free. Download it now on all iOS and Android devices. Just type in Savvy Breast. It is free. Share it now using the share button on the app menu to friends, family, and work colleagues across all social media networks, including WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, emails, etc. It is free. A token from the OCI Foundation International to all Nigerians. We rise by lifting others.
The counsel of our fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. This morning we are discussing continuous voter registration, and we have a few gentlemen here who have been doing justice some of the questions we've been posing. But let's begin this last segment with Mr. Aluko. Let's say the cards or the PVCs you have in 2011 or before, and of course the ones you have now, are they the same? If they are, how the same are they? Or can one still move on with that and then use the ones in 2011? Can it be really read by the card reader? If not, what are the innovations in it? And how would somebody really have to change his, if possible, if the card reader cannot read it?
Let all Nigerians know that all the PVCs we issued from when we registered people in 2011 are valid. Their cards are valid. They have not expired. It's only if your card is damaged or lost or in any way is spoiled that you need to get another card for now. The voter register, I said it earlier, is a living register. It's an electronic register. It's an existing, stable, secured register. All we are doing now is to add new persons into that register. And then persons who are already in that register, they have problems with their cards, whether the cards are lost, the cards are damaged, to give them new cards. So if you registered in 2011 and you have your PVC with you, you have been voting, you are safe. We don't need to bother ourselves. All we tell you as INEC is, please keep your cards safe. And we are trying to let people know that the cards should not be abused in any way. And Nigerians do a lot to abuse these cards. Some people will be carrying this card every day in their purses, in their pockets, up and down in their bags. The cards are not designed for that. The cards are designed for voting. On election day, take your card to the polling unit and vote. Return home. Keep the cards where you keep your documents at home. The cards are not meant to be carried up and down. And when you abuse a particular product, even your ATM cards, if you abuse them, they will get spoiled. And so we're encouraging people, don't let your cards get spoiled. And another good thing is that the system of voting we are using today, the VIVAS, the one we call the biometric voter aggregation system, has the register of the polling unit is built inside the equipment. So when you bring your card, automatically it checks your card. So you won't have any problems at all. So if you registered in 2011, 2011, before 2015, all that period, and your card is okay, it's not spoiled, you don't have any problem. Just keep it safely. 2023, come to the polling unit, you will vote without any problem, I assure you.
Okay, Mr. Luko, the commission, that's the INEC, promised to establish a dedicated help desk to enable the electorate who are in doubt of the status of their PVCs to do so. How far with this project?
Yeah, it's already existing. You can check your status, the status of your registration. You know, you can check. We have our website there, anecnigeria.org, www.anecnigeria.org. You can check our website for those who are internet savvy. You can check the website. You get to the place where it talks about you want to check your status as a registrant. You'll be able to check your status. And if you are if you are in a place where you cannot, you are not computer savvy, you are not internet savvy, and you want to check, you can also stroll to our local government office. As the electoral officer, that's why he said that's his job, and he will tell you, oh, you are still okay, you are valid.
You raised a point here that has to do with the way people keep the cards. You know, some are careless about the cards or carry them about, as you mentioned. But in some cases, even where people don't carry their cards around, some cards get defaced. You know, the writings, wear out or fade out, as the case may be. Will such cards be valid on election day? Is there any way for anybody whose card is defaced or faded get a new card?
Yeah, it's because we know that cards can get spoiled. That's why we provided opportunity for those whose cards are spoiled to come out and get new ones. And I said before, the responsibility to do that belongs to the person who has a card that is damaged. As INEC, we will not know in our offices how many persons have damaged cards. But we are saying, in case your card is spoiled, come up. Come forward and tell us. We give you another card free of charge. That's what we do, and we encourage people to please, as I said before, keep your cards in a safe place. Don't let it get damaged in time. We know that in this life, there's nothing that is forever. Even when you get your car plate number or something, Road will tell you that when you are washing it with detergent, be careful, because if the thing gets washed off, you will have to come and pay money to get another one in our offices. So the responsibility for all these things belong to the person using them. So if you have a card, keep your card very well. If your card is spoiled, come to us. We'll give you a new card.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Victor. Paul James, let's hear more from you. It seems you have a lot to say, especially talking about how the system can be improved. You've been a good observer of this, I can say, and you've been looking at it from a very critical point of view, especially talking about reduction in cost and then sufferings of Nigerians in trying to acquire this voter's card and get re-registered if there is need for that. Tell us in your own way, how do you think should INEC approach these issues in trying to make it much easier for Nigerians to get registered at an easy cost and lesser cost, and of course easier done than just having to travel far and wide in order to get it. Number two, and how do you want INEC to address the issue of double registration, because that's one area we've been harping on, and you think the technology should be upgraded somehow? I don't know. How do you want that done?
I want to start from the point of double registration because, one, it is an electoral offense. I heard the INEC man earlier saying, Mr. Aluko earlier saying that the police should pick up that and prosecute the people. And I think the prosecution rests squarely on INEC. INEC need to provide that information to the police, and then the police takes it off from there. But then most importantly also, like we said, people are doing this out of ignorance. If we intensify voter education, voter information around that, I think it will help a great deal. And to say the CSOs and the likes are not doing much on voter education, I think it is also not fair, because we are, and that's why I say for all of us, I think that is the area that we need. Now that the information is out there, we need to let people know. I have said INEC need to do more in terms of how do we double this number between now and the end of this exercise, especially because we know for most Nigerians, they are so used to leaving it until the very last minute. When you're approaching the end of the exercise, you see more people will want to start rushing to get registered in the process. So it's about how do we make this as seamless as possible for everybody that will want to participate, because for me participation begins from registration. So my sense is on the part of INEC, he had just, Mr. Luko had mentioned that they have devolved registration to the ward level. We got about 8,809 wards in the country, so perhaps people need to start taking advantage of that. Also on our part, we'll increase on the voter education, voter information effort. First, even let people know where these centers are located and how people can go about this process. But importantly, like I mentioned again, I think we should for now suspend the issue around online pre-registration and focus more, because I think the numbers are even confusing. You got about 1.1 million or so based on INEC data that registered online, but how many of them have translated to physical registration? So we can suspend that for now and then encourage more people to go and do the physical activity. There are a lot of online activities that are happening, especially if you go to the Twitter space and all of that. A lot of conversation around voter registration, how do I register and all of that. So it's how we move that from those sort of conversation to a more physical approach. I think that is more important as we wind down through the end of the process. But I sincerely, my greatest desire is to see that at the end of this exercise, we have opened up the space, encourage more young people especially to register in the process, that at the end we should be talking about 100 million Nigerians that have all registered and are willing to participate in the process. But it also doesn't end at that. INEC had also mentioned that some cards are ready. People need to understand also the difference between collection of permanent voters card and distribution. INEC doesn't do distribution anymore. We keep confusing the two things. It is collection. People need to approach INEC offices to do the collection. If you go back to the 2019 election, according to INEC data, whilst we have 84 million registered Nigerians, only 72 million collected their PVC, meaning it was that number that was eligible to participate in the election as of 2019. So as we go into the 2023 election, I hope that we'll take lessons from 2019 and more people will go back to collect their own PVC to participate in the election.
All right, Yusuf Dantale, considering the population of this nation estimated at about 200 million or more, are you satisfied with the number of people on the electoral register? Would you say that this registration exercise is actually going well, knowing the fact that not many have been able to register up to this moment?
Thank you. Personally, I am not satisfied with the number of registrants as it stands today. We need to do more, and more Nigerians need to come. But my point is that this is not, INEC is not responsible 100% for Nigerians not coming to register, just like we said. But there are cards that are not collected. Like I said, INEC doesn't do distribution, but you go to collect. So what we need to do as political parties, as civil society organizations, as INEC too, we need to intensify the awareness, okay, and then see how we can push. There are times we have to, as political parties, we have to provide transportation for our people to go to where they need to do this. We have to provide food for them to do some of these things. So, and I will urge Nigerians, I will urge politicians to try as much as possible to support the system. But leaving it for INEC alone, INEC can't do so much. For instance, the issue of security. Look at what happened in Imo State, for instance. What can INEC do? Nothing. You can't lose life because you want to. You can register people. The people, some persons say, no, don't register. So the environment have to be secure for those that are coming to register people to do that. So other agencies of government too should wake up to their responsibilities and do more by making some of this environment secure. And then I know INEC have a process of maybe reaching out to taking registration to IDPs. Okay, so some of our politicians, so maybe the senators, the House of Rep member, and see as much as possible what can you do to ensure that your constituency get registered. These are all part of our civil responsibilities. So this is about, as it is, we have not registered enough. The number of registrants in Nigeria is far, far below the average. So we need to do more.
On a final note, how much have you, as political parties, done in trying to, make it easier for Nigerians to really appreciate the fact that it's necessary to have the PVC instead of having to induce them this time around? Because you mentioned the fact that sometimes you need to transport them, sometimes you need to provide food for them and things like that. And whenever such is not there, they won't be going. So I think there is supposed to be a reorientation in this regarding whether to see to it that this thing is nationally important, it is a patriotic duty, it is a franchise that should exist. I mean, how far has the political parties going this? Briefly, please, we are running short of time.
Just like I said, now on our like my own political party, for instance, we have a lot of WhatsApp platforms, we have a lot of Facebook platforms and other platforms that we educate our members. And INEC don't count your prayers, INEC don't count what you say, but INEC count your votes. So you need to go out and do what you have to do. So we do this to the through the state chairman, to the local government chairman, down to the wards and polling unit level. And at IPAC level, collectively, we do it. And recently, too, of course, political parties too are constrained relatively because of resources to do some of these things. Recently, we had engagement with the United Nations and like the Communist Party of China, who are willing to support the political parties. And what we kept telling them is the only support, the major support we need is how to embark on massive voters education and sensitization down to, this is where we are constrained. And as it stands today, IPAC, before, we used to have only the national and state structures, but now IPAC is going down the local government to establish structures at local government and ward level, which we are doing.
Thank you so much, Yusuf Maman Ntale, National Secretary, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, and National Chairman, Allied People's Movement. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, Paul James, I know you may be to say last week, but at least we are pressed for time. Please bear with us. This is a discussion in progress, so we'll keep moving on that. We thank you so much for being part of Good Morning Nigeria this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Victor Aluko, you've been a very good contributor this morning. At least Nigerians have had so much, and then there are great insights you've given us, and Nigerians are going to work on that. Well, thank you so much for being part of Good Morning this morning. A very big thank you to you out there for being part of this. But before we go, let's look at the world of sports and see what's there.
Head coach of Nigeria's under-20 boys, Flying Eagles Ladan Bozo, has called up 40 players for next month's WAFO B Under-20 Championship taking place in Miami, capital of the Nigeria Republic. The list has 4 goalkeepers, 12 defenders, 17 midfielders, and 7 forwards as invited players are to arrive in Abuja Monday. 7-time African champions, the Flying Eagles, will play in Group B of the WAFO B Championship alongside Ghana and Burkina Faso, with the tournament scheduled from 7th to 28th. Only the 2 finalists will qualify from the WAFO B zone to participate in the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. Meanwhile, Nigeria's league management company LMC banned Kano Pillars Football Club from playing all their home games in Kano for the rest of the 2021-2022 Nigeria Professional Football League season. Kano Pillars were ordered to play the remainder of their home games at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. The decision was the outcome of Pillars fans' violence in Kano against Katsina United during a recent MPFL match at the Sani Abacha Stadium, Kano. In a statement issued on Sunday, the LMC imposed a 9 million fine on the club over brazen breach of the MPFL rules. The club will lose 3 points from the already acquired points, just as the LMC also banned the Sani Abacha Stadium, Kano, from hosting MPFL games till further notice. Also, the league management body ordered Kano Pillars to repair or replace the damaged Katsina United FC team bus, which was vandalized by Pillars fans.
Well, that was indeed not a good story. I mean, sport is just a game. I mean, we don't have to take it to that level. And of course, we know the punishment for Kano Pillars who will not play the rest of their matches at the Moshood Abiola Stadium here in Abuja. Well, that does it for the day. We thank you for watching. Good Morning Nigeria returns again tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning. My name is Kirian Umayo. You have a great day.
And I'm Yusuf Nadabu. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.